Welcome, listeners and viewers. We are here today for our episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. I am Michelle Walters. I am the show Mind Power. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and human development coach. I am joined today, as usual, with my podcasting pal, Cinthia Varkevisser. She is our show mystic, and Cinthia does all kinds of mystic, curious, unknowable things. We are very excited today to have our friend Carolyn Pistone here. Carolyn is the president of Clear Blue Commercial, a dynamic speaker and a passionate advocate for the planet, merging real estate expertise with environmental sustainability. As the leader of a B Corp certified women-owned green business firm, she delivers engaging, forward-thinking presentations about sustainability, ESG, and community building and presents them to diverse audiences. An award-winning leader and enterprising women's 2022 Women of the Year, Carolyn also serves the Climate Action 2020 Stakeholders Advisory Group and is a founding board member of 100 Sonoma People Who Care. Known for her interactive style, humor, and actionable insights, Carolyn inspires others to collaborate, thrive, and create positive impact. #1 international best-selling author of the book Open for Joy, we are here today with Carolyn Pistone. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you so much. I will strive to live up to that glorious introduction. Thank you.
Well, you only get it because you've done a heck of a lot of big things, my friend.
Yeah, you really do walk the talk. I was telling Michelle how I had this pipe dream of wanting to have a spiritual day spa. And you said, "Oh, this is a great idea. Let's talk about it." And then it wasn't even a short conversation, but one lovely conversation, you pretty much ran it all down into actionable items where I could start and told me that it was a 3-year process. So it was an amazing conversation. And if I hadn't gotten so cold, such cold feet, that conversation, I believe, was 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. So you are so knowledgeable, so inspiring, and such a cheerleader. I'm really excited for you.
Well, thank you so much. You and I met in 2023. So
wasn't that long? I got time.
I know it seems longer because we've accomplished so much and gone so deep in that short amount of time.
That's who you are. And that's who you inspire, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
First of all, let's talk about your B Corps. What does that mean? For a lot of people don't understand what B Corps is. I had the opportunity to meet you and other B Corps women at an event, and that's some serious shit right there. These people are, you play hard, you work hard, you play hard. I will say that.
Yeah, that event was awesome, and it was so fun to go with it. And just so everybody knows, it was the event was called Impactful Women Go Rafting, and we were on the South Fork of the American River doing river rafting for the day, and it was awesome.
It was awesome.
But a B Corp, we set out when we started our company, Clear Blue Commercial, which is a commercial real estate firm. We specialize in property management for large-scale corporations and government entities. But when we founded, and we just celebrated 10 years, when we founded, we set out to be a certified green business, a certified woman-owned business, and a B Corp, because it's in our DNA. And I'll tell you a little secret that nobody should know is that I'm not really that interested in real estate. Other than the fact that it's real and it's connected to the planet. But what I really wanted to do was use my business as a force for good, and I wanted to use my life and my career as a catalyst for positive change in the world. And B Corp, it's it's a certification like any other. There are currently no tax benefits or tax implications to being a B Corp. We're actually structurally, we're an S Corp. So my husband likes to say we're a BS Corp. But basically through the certification, what you need to do is have a higher set of metrics than just financial return to your shareholders. And so you have to have a higher environmental, social impact benefit. And it's really pretty intensive the way they drill down and study. We're going through our now fourth recertification since we became a B Corp in 2015. So it's pretty intense, and they look at things more than just the fact that, you know, hey, we try to offer really good benefits to our employees, and we try to have a diverse workforce, and we try to give to charity, and, you know, we use recycled paper and blah, blah, blah. They really drill deep into what you do, including, you know, any supply chain issues, any HR issues, what community are you from, how much business do you do locally, and how many people on your board are women or underserved communities. That there's just so much depth to it. The thing that I love about being a B Corp, and so far there's not really any financial advantage to it, which is fine. It wasn't why we did it. What's been really wonderful about it is the community that we're in. Like you were saying earlier, Cinthia, I am now hooked up and hooked in with a community of people around the world who are all working to use their businesses as a force for good in a major way. And there are some really well-known B Corps out there. Ben and Jerry's is a B Corp. Patagonia is a B Corp. There are a couple of banks that are B Corps. And that's what we use for our business banking. Those kinds of things. So B Corp is really looking at using business as a force for good. And we focus on the planet because, number one, we live here. Number two, real estate is all about how are we using and caring for the planet. Every building is in an ecosystem and in a community. And so we look at things like, how are people getting to and from that building? And what are people doing inside the building? How do we provide the healthiest, least negatively impactful workplace for people doing incredible work to do their best work? And
I love that, Carolyn. I absolutely love it. Well, it's so important. And I, I think it's nice to see. I feel like there's been a shift in the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 years as people are becoming a little bit more like, I want to go to a workplace that's aligned with my values. I want to see that my company may not be perfect, but they know they're not perfect, and they have a game plan to get a little better. And they might not get all the way there for that might not ever be something they can even plan towards, right? But every year they're paying attention to this and moving the needle in a couple of places, right? And I don't think anybody paid any attention to any of that. Like, I don't know, maybe prior to 20, like 2000 or something. It just wasn't where our heads were at.
Well, and it certainly wasn't connected to business in the way it should have been, or in the way that it should be now. And one of the things that we were able to, and one of the first little buildings we managed, and property management is very basic. You collect the rents, you pay the expenses, you maintain the property. And then you write a report every month about how, you know, what you did. But what I saw is that involves a budget. And every building, every property has one. And so you look at, okay, here's money we're going to have to spend anyway. Is there a better way to do this? For instance, we did in one building, we did an LED conversion where we converted all the lights to LEDs instead of the compact fluorescents, and it's a much lower draw on the electricity. And so that was great. We were able to do that. We were able to actually do that ourselves and figure out how to move those budget dollars around. Well, what we found was we were able to drop, because the biggest expenses in any building are air conditioning and lighting. So, and unfortunately, there haven't been any huge advances in the air conditioning industry, as hopefully there will be soon, but there haven't been. So we did this change, and then we found a program where the local air quality management district was giving grants if you would put in EV charging stations. So we put in these EV charging stations, and we put them in for free. So anybody could use, people from across the street were coming to use them, you know, but people in the building were using them. They were getting a lot of use. And we found even with the increased draw and electricity in the building, the electrical, the utility expenses still dropped 25%.
Wow.
So
Charging people's cars.
yeah, and the thing that we realized is we had just added another amenity to a building. Like, it's better than a waterfall or some kind of great landscaping, or, you know, putting a little gym or, you know, a cafe or something in.
Right.
It was really inexpensive to do. We were able to do it in the normal operating budget of the building. It wasn't even a capital expense. And if at the time there was so much vacancy and we're all struggling for tenants, and it was also an employees market, so all of our tenants were struggling to attract and retain employees. And if you're an employee and you have a choice between working in a building that has essentially a free gas station or one that does not, you've got an edge over, you suddenly got an edge over your neighbors. And suddenly my client was like, oh, you know, our building's 100% full. Our building's actually profitable.
Wow.
You know,
You're
so
reminding me, Carolyn, many years ago, I worked in Texas, and the building in Texas had a gas pump at the back.
yeah.
Gas pumps, you could put a gas pump behind your building in Texas, and then you just put in your employee number, and your gas came out of your paycheck.
Oh,
But I like where things have gone. I think things
yeah.
are much better.
This is free.
Right. Even better.
Yeah, we have another huge building where we put, I was finally able, it took me 5 years to get this done, but I was finally able to put 100,000 square foot solar array.
Wow.
On a campus that we manage as a subcontractor for the state of California. We were able to do it with no out of pocket from ourselves or the landlord or the state. And so far that went up during the pandemic, so we didn't interfere with anybody. So it's been operational since 2021. It had just, that one thing has diverted 3.3 million pounds of carbon from our atmosphere.
Wow.
And it has saved $1 million in energy costs. So if you are a taxpayer in the state of California, you are welcome. But also what it's enabled us to do is we're putting EV charging stations into that building, around that campus. they're connected to the buildings so that people will be charging their cars from the sun.
Fantastic.
And that's so meaningful to me, especially because it's great that there are electric cars and there are EV charging stations, but you have to look at what you're plugging into. Where does that energy come from? Because there are parts of the country where you have your electric car, you plug it into your charging station, and you're powering your, instead of powering from gas.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So, and mine is a tiny company. We're not a huge company. In fact, right now we have a total of 7 employees. So I think one of the reasons that I'm starting to talk and write so much now is to encourage everybody to do what they can with what they have from where they are. One of the things about climate change, and one of the reasons people aren't doing as much as they should do about it, is because it feels so enormous. It
Yes.
feels like, oh, why even try, you know? And if we can have the kind of impact we have had just by our tiny little company in our tiny little ways, everybody can have the kind of impact that they want to have. You just got to kind of figure it out within what you're doing right now.
Right. Right. I want to tell everybody that I read Carolyn's new book. Carolyn, your book came out this year, right? 2024?
Yes,
Yes.
it came out in May of 2024. It's called Open for Joy, A Journey of Healing and Business Success. And I originally started to write 2 books because I wanted to write something about what business success means to me as a woman in the world, and how important business as a force for good is, and tell a little bit about my experiences. And then I wanted to write another book about overcoming childhood adversity and raising special needs kids and all kinds of, and some of the trauma of being a woman in the world. And so I had these 2 little notebooks and that I would carry around and jot stuff down. And frequently I would find myself with both notebooks in my hand, trying to figure out where this little tidbit went. And that's what led me to go, oh, it's about bringing your whole self to your whole life, that your work life and your life are not separate things.
They go together.
Yes, they are absolutely connected.
They go together. And I think there was a big message, at least from the businesses that I worked with, that was like, well, when you're here, you're here.
Yeah.
We own you from, 8 to 5, other than that little lunch hour that you get to have with your friends. And, this is who you are. And do we really care that much about the fact that your husband's sick or your baby's daycare is calling or whatever is going on? No. And I feel like things are getting better. I think things are certainly better in organizations like yours, where you got 7 people. Like you're gonna kind of know what people's temperature is, right?
Oh, definitely.
But I'm glad that your book was great. And
Oh.
one of the things that I liked about your book was that it was so human. It really presented things from a perspective of, I was here and I had this going on and I was trying to accomplish this. And then this other thing came in and pushed me off that and I couldn't keep going with it anymore. And it 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 was very well written. It was very interesting to read. And it was very inspiring because, I mean, I've had a lot of crap go down. Cynthia's had a lot of crap go down, but you've had a lot of really, I mean,
Yeah.
some kind of odd stuff has gone on for you. I don't want to like spoiler the book or anything, but and your tale is well told, Carolyn. So thank you
Oh,
for writing your book.
thank you. It's a very different experience, and I am writing a new book because when I went to do the audio book, and by the way, it's available on Audible.
Yay.
When I went to do the audio book, it was all I could do not to just completely rewrite the book while I was speaking it, because I have more to say. I have a lot more to say. And the next book is called Joy Rising. And it's really about joy as a form of protest in dark times. Because I think there are plenty of reasons to feel pessimistic about the world. And sometimes I'm going to divert for a moment, because I had an experience and it's in the book, that was very, very devastating. And it had to do with my son, and it was just a horrible, horrible experience. And I called into question my my relationship to the world, and my belief in motherhood and love and God and everything. And but I had to hold it together, because I had another child, and I had a family, and I was starting a new business, and blah blah blah. So I kept soldiering through, but I was really, it was almost physically painful during that time. But there was one day I was cooking dinner, and I caught myself singing. And there was a moment where I was like, yay, I'm singing. Yeah, I must be happy. And then the next moment I was like, oh, I shouldn't. How could I be singing when everything is so terrible? And then I'm remembering that time as I'm writing this book, because joy is our birthright, and we can choose it every moment, and we should. And when we look at the state of the world, and the things that we'd like to change, and the things that feel insurmountable, my husband and I can easily go down this wormhole of all the terrible things we're afraid of are going to happen. But the thing that I told him recently was, look, if everything happens just the way we're afraid it's going to, if this all happens tomorrow, we will really wish we had enjoyed today more. And it's certainly when there was slavery, not that there isn't now, but that's a whole other conversation. There was still joy and laughter and music and love within the slave community. During the Holocaust, there was still humor and music and jokes being cracked all the way to the gas chambers. The other thing that is great about choosing joy and owning it as your birthright is it really pisses off the people that are trying to divide us and keep us down. It's like, okay, I'm bankrupt, and I'm losing my house, and and I have no job,
and I'm singing.
So it's a way to, I have a firm belief in humanity's ability to right itself and to find the path of goodness. And I also know that I'll never see the complete resolution of that. So I can be joy, and even now, as you know, I had technical difficulties earlier today, but as I was driving here, I live in wine country in California, and I had to drive from my office to my home. And there's about a 2-foot layer of fog that's just laying along the ground in the vineyards. And so I'm driving through the vineyards and I get to an area where there's a miniature horse farm. And the miniature horses are like jumping and frolicking around in the fog. And it's like, am I dreaming? And did I look at, first of all, what a beautiful planet this is. Look at where we get to live. Look at how wonderful that is. And why not enjoy that instead of focusing on, oh, I have technical difficulties. You know, so much of what we look at as wrong in the world has to do with a smaller number of people that have an insane lust for money and power. And money and power are not even real things. They're not even real things. So there's a whole chapter in my last book called Money Isn't Even a Real Thing. And
Yes, I remember. It's not a real thing.
No, it's not.
And we
And
made it up to be useful.
yes.
It is useful, but
yeah.
but it isn't a real thing. It's true.
Well, and the truth,
I mean, I just love what you're saying. And how can I not love this picture of miniature ponies jumping through fog in vineyards?
I got to see it
What a
today.
smile to put on people's face today.
Yeah.
A lot of, and I know this, Carolyn, is one of the things we like so much about each other is that we both have found ways to look at situations and see the opportunities, see the joy,
Yes.
see the gratitude in the moment, you know, and we all got to find those. We all got to find those and frame the world with them, because if you don't, you're going to be looking through a broken frame and your life's not going to be very fun. And I think we came here to explore ourselves and to have joy. And I mean, that being said, like, part of the reason why it makes it so cute to imagine the ponies jumping is that they're not always jumping, right? If that was all you ever saw, it wouldn't really seem that special.
Yeah.
But we have to find those special moments. It's imperative.
Well,
I don't know. I like the visual of legless ponies, not legless ponies, legless ponies in the chili fog, not legless ponies in the chili. That's freaking hilarious. Being so having this amazing book and the leader of this company and really involved in this movement as a woman of color, I would love to hear words that would encourage my friends, other women of color who feel like they don't have as much power. We tend to, and I'll include myself in this, it isn't always so, but sometimes I look and I'm like, I don't have the same background, so I don't have the same reality, which doesn't make me move forward in the same way. That's a form of victimology, I believe. And at the same time, that's still my reality. Because of your passion and your drive, because you've proven it, what would you like to say to help people, especially women of color, get going, and if not get started, that they're at some kind of plateau to help break through to the next thing, so that we can lockstep with you and really, be the same committed earthlings?
Well, I had an experience with the recent election.
I was there.
And I guess, and I was so filled with grief for a long time, because what I really, and it took me a while to put my finger on it, but I realized as a woman, I suddenly felt like I lived in a country and maybe even a world that was hostile to me, that hated me. And it was just a sick, awful feeling. And then I sat and I thought about it, and I went, this is what all of the people of color that I know feel all the time, have lived their whole lives with. And And so I am looking to the women of color to lead the way, because I have been at many meetings and many seminars where I see the women of color are mobilized. They are used to this. This bad word didn't even surprise them, because this is the way the world works for them. And I have found that the Black women and the Latina women and the Asian women that I know were, the next day they're like, okay, here's what we have to do. And it has given me so much hope and so much inspiration, that as much as that I would never presume to preach to the women of color, when I look at especially how much the women of color have carried on their backs throughout history. And really, women of color built this country. They built many other countries too, but they built this country. And they're continuing to carry this country on their backs with their labor, with their guidance, with their perspective. And what I see now is that before, I probably really did live in a country that was hostile to me. I just was privileged enough that I didn't have to look at it. And now I know that, first of all, that privilege was all an illusion. And in some ways, we're lucky that, the hoods are off now.
Right.
And they're all saying it out loud. So the only thing that I can say to the women of color is thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your work. Thank you for building a world that I love. And thank you for continuing to do the work. And I will do everything I can with this life that I have to be an ally, to be and to be a force for positive change in the world, and to be worthy of the what I excuse me, my daughter just walked in. I'm doing a podcast right now, but I love you. It's nice to see you. Anyway, to be worthy of the incredible sacrifices and gifts that I've been given.
I think we're going to wrap it up there. Carolyn, thank you so much for being on our show today. What would you like to share with our listeners that you are bringing forward now?
Well, first and foremost, my book is called Open for Joy, A Journey of Healing and Business Success, and it is available on Amazon and Audible. And one of the things I say in the book is, don't listen to anybody that tells you you can't change the world. You can. You just cannot do it alone.
Bravo!
Love it. I'm tearing up. I have it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for the wonderful work you're all doing in the world.